right, Shalom. And this is going to be a health series concerning Manuka honey. But first and foremost, before I start this informative health lesson, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, Bahashim, or Chaha, Kodash. Double honors to the head apostle, and elders of Great Millstone, who rule well and teach well, and Shalom to the elect. All right, it's going to be a health series concerning Manuka honey. And first, we're going to start off with the differences between Manuka honey and regular honey. And I'll put these links in the description box as well. It says Manuka honey differs from regular honey primarily due to its source, Manuka tea nectar, resulting in unique antibacterial properties and a distinct flavor profile, often characterized by a stronger, earthier taste. It says bees produce Manuka honey by foraging exclusive on the nectar of the Manuka tea tree native to New Zealand and parts of Australia. It says Manuka honey contains methyl glyoxyl MgO, a natural compound that contributes to its potent antibacterial activity. And that's one of the numbers that you have to look for when purchasing Manuka honey. And that is going to affect the cost of the particular brand of Manuka honey that you're purchasing as well. And I'll get into the other number to focus on as well. It says Manuka honey often has a unique, earthy, and slightly bitter flavor with a thicker, more viscous texture than regular honey. Manuka honey is graded using the unique Manuka factor, the UMF, and this is the other number that I was speaking about that you want to focus on, the MgO and the UMF. It says the unique Manuka factor, the UMF, and this is the grading system that they give the Manuka honey, and they put this on the front of whatever container that the product comes in. It says which measures the concentration. These concerning the UMF and the MgO. It says which measures the concentration of MgO and other signature compounds indicating the honey's antibacterial potency. Okay, so one is basically the purity and strength, and the other one is the antibacterial potency. And once these numbers start to get higher and higher, the price point starts to really get expensive. But if you can afford it, there's many benefits for using Manuka honey. I've been using it for about 2 weeks, and I have seen benefits, and I highly recommend it. But the only downside I see from Manuka honey is the price point. Okay, and we'll get this article goes a little bit into that. It says Manuka honey due to its unique properties, rarity, being originating from New Zealand and Australia. It says due to its properties, rarity, and high demand, Manuka honey is typically more expensive than regular honey. Okay, now let's get into some of the benefits of using Manuka honey. All right. It says the antibacterial properties of Manuka honey promote wound healing by inhibiting bacterial growth and reducing inflammation. It can be applied topically as a dressing or dressing aid, like I was touching on earlier. Not only can you use Manuka honey orally, but you can use Manuka honey as a topical treatment. You can put it on wounds. You can use it as a facial cleanser. Okay, and a lot of the herbs, okay, and various different plants, you can use them like that as well. You can use them orally and topically. Okay, garlic is another one that is good as a topical treatment. It says digestive health. Manuka honey may help improve gut health by reducing inflammation and fighting harmful bacteria in the digestive tract. It can also promote regular bowel movements. Skin health. The anti-inflammatory and antibacterial properties of Manuka honey make it beneficial for skin health. It can help soothe acne eczema, and other skin irritations. Antioxidant properties. Manuka honey contains antioxidants which can help protect cells from damage caused from free radicals. This may contribute to overall health and well being. And that's one of the things I can attest to from using Manuka honey for a couple weeks. You have an overall better well being feeling, so to speak. Okay? It says boosting the Salaki, I skipped a paragraph. It says other potential benefits. Some studies suggest that Manuka honey may have additional health benefits such as boosting the immune system, reducing blood sugar levels, improving oral health, and promoting tissue regeneration. All right. It says it is important to note that the health benefits of Manuka honey may vary depending on the quality and the concentration of MGO. That's one of the numbers that I said to look for when purchasing Manuka honey. It says of the MGO in the honey, also choose high quality Manuka honey with high UMF. That's the other number, which stands for unique Manuka factor rating to ensure you are getting the most benefits. Additionally, uh, yeah, that was it on that. So pay attention to those numbers when ordering Manuka honey. Let's get into a couple more benefits. Now, another thing, I've mentioned those two numbers, the MGO and the UMF, but there's another kind of Manuka honey that you get from Australia, which is going to have another number on it. Instead of the UMF, you're going to see the AMHA, which stands for Australian Manuka Honey Association. Okay, so that would replace the UMF. All right, let's get into this. It says if you buy Australian Manuka honey, look for the AMHA, which stands for Australian Manuka Honey Association mark of authenticity stamp, and also an MGO, which we already touched on that. It says the MGOs are naturally occurring compounds only found in Manuka honey, like the UMF rating in New Zealand Manuka honey. The higher the rating, the more MGOs. And I've only had the New Zealand Manuka honey. I have yet to have the Australian Manuka honey, which I believe the Australian is actually more expensive. It says the higher the rating, the more MGOs are in the honey, and therefore the more nutritional benefit it has. You may also start to see an MGO rating on New Zealand Manuka honey too. Yeah, you definitely see the MGO on the New Zealand Manuka honey. It says as many UK retailers are starting to use this independent certification on all Manuka honey products. Okay. Now I'm just gonna skim through a couple more benefits. We already touched on wound healing. It says soothes a sore throat. So there's another thing that you can add, to that home remedy. You know, herbs and plants, medicine for sore throat and sickness. It says honey and lemon are an old slacky. Honey and lemon are an age-old remedy for coughs and colds, and studies support their effects. It says, for example, one study in 2010 found that honey was more effective at alleviating a cough in children than over-the-counter cough suppressants. Hey, that's heavy. It says this was followed by revised guidelines in 2018 from the National Institute of Health and Care Excellence and Public Health England (PHE) to use honey as a first-line treatment. You hear that? As a first-line treatment. So they said, the Public Health in England said you're supposed to use honey. That's the first thing you should use above any type of over-the-counter prescription drug or medication, right? Okay, for a sore throat. We read that again. It says in 2018 from the National Institute for Health and Care Excellence and Public Health England to use honey as a first-line treatment to reduce the symptoms of a short-term cough. It says we already touched on gut health. It says may soothe a gastric ulcer. It says test tube and animal studies have demonstrated the potential of Manuka honey to help protect against damaging effects of gastric ulcers. It does this in several ways. First, by providing an anti-inflammatory effect. Secondly, by helping manage infections such as Helicobacter, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, pylori, and finally by protecting the gut mucosa from damage. It says may be helpful for gastroenteritis, and I'm not even sure what that is. It says there is some evidence that honey, and especially Manuka honey, may help to treat gut infections caused by bacteria strains. Okay, so I guess it's a type of infection in the stomach. It says uh, like strands like Clostridium difficile. One benefit is that it appears to shorten the duration of symptoms such as diarrhea. Okay, so it can be used to counteract diarrhea and certain elements you're having with your stomach and gut as well. It says may offer antiviral properties. It says study of Manuka honey found that in a laboratory setting, it efficiently inhibited influenza viruses, and other test tube studies found it had significantly activity against shingles. It says may be useful for antibiotic resistant infections. And we'll skip over the details of that. It says may help to build up of dental plaque. We'll skip over the benefits from or the description of that. Verse 9. I mean, point 9, there's 10 benefits in this particular article. I'll leave this article in the description as well. It says may help manage cystic fibrosis. The potent antibacterial properties of Manuka honey also appear to augment the effects of antibiotics in cystic fibrosis patients who have an upper respiratory infection. It does this by inhibiting the growth of bacteria like pseudomonas, what is that? Pseudomonas aeruginosa and Burkholderia. And I don't think I pronounced any of those words right. And it says, in so doing, may be useful treatment strategy for the future. It says, may be effective against inflammatory skin conditions. And all these articles are going to say maybe because we know how Esau operates. These various different companies and, people that make these articles, if they want it to be, searchable on a large level, you got to, use certain terminology, you know, to go with the various different requirements that the public health and these various different organizations have set, so people can say, oh, it may be helpful, but we're still going to go to the doctor, we're still going to go to these these drugstores, we're going to still use over-the-counter medicines, we're still going to try to get prescriptions to help us with our various different elements, sicknesses, and diseases. And I'm no doctor, nor am I giving any type of medical information. Okay. It says may be effective against inflammatory skin conditions. Okay. Now let's touch on this last point and then we'll wrap it up. It says, what is a healthy portion of Manuka honey? A maximum of 2 teaspoons a day, which is 15 g, is a good is a good I guess it stands for grams. It says is a good portion size of Manuka honey. As well, it has many impressive health benefits. Okay, so there you go, man. And let me read this as well because this is going into those ratings, and like I said, keep an eye on those ratings, the UMF or the AHMA if you're buying Australian, and the MGO. It says firstly check that it is from New Zealand and that it carries the UMF stamp and trademark. The label should also carry the UMF rating such as 10 plus or 25 plus. The higher the number, the better in terms of nutritional benefits. But the more expensive the product will be. Like I said, once those numbers increase, the more expensive you're going to see these products go up. And when them numbers get real high, it gets very, very expensive. You could be spending $200, $300, $400 for one jar of honey. And I know it sounds crazy, but use it moderately, or in portions. Use it however you see fit to use in uh, your life concerning health. But there's many benefits that I can attest from using Manuka honey for the last couple of weeks. I could say an increase in energy, an overall better feeling of well-being. And I believe it's definitely boost my immune system. Okay. So just wanted to put that out there. We got to do anything and everything we can in this, you know, wicked place that we live in, being earth, okay? Because this earth has been given into the hands of Esau Edom, and he's doing everything that he can to pollute it, to deteriorate your health, and ultimately to destroy you. All right, he's polluting the water we drink, he's polluting the air that we breathe, the food that we eat. You know, this whole land is polluted, but we got to do what we can to the best of our abilities to keep our body in check, to keep our health up, to keep our blood flowing. And also, when we get various different elements, sicknesses, diseases, virus, whatever the case may be, to have the knowledge to be able to use the herbs, to use the plants, okay, to be able to use the trees, to be able to use honey and various different things that come from the earth. Because what did the Lord tell us? Let's get that real quick and we'll wrap it up. Because the Lord told us where medicine is from. And, the powers that be, they don't want you to do that, okay? Let's get that real quick. Bear with me one moment. Let's see here. I think it's a Sirach. Yeah, let's go to Sirach 38. We'll wrap it up on that. This is Sirach chapter 38. Let's start from the top. This is Sirach 38 and 1. It says, honor a physician with the honor due unto him for the uses which ye may have of him, for the Lord hath created him. Okay? And there's a lack of that on the earth. Because of what? Because of this devil being in the position of power and rulership, pursuing to Job 9 and 24, right? Esau condemns people that, bring out home remedies and usages of the herbs, anything that comes against his pharmaceutical companies, anything that comes against big pharmacy, right? It says, verse 2, for of the Most High cometh healing. So ultimately, the healing comes from, Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. All right? That's why, before you take medicine and treatment, pray to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai for healing. It says, for of the Most High cometh healing, and he shall receive honor of the king. Verse 3, the skill of the physician shall lift up his head, and in the sight of great men he shall be an admiration. And see, we have a lack of that in the day and age that we live in, especially over here in Babylon the Great. Esau, in the with the label and the tag that he's given of a doctor and these various other titles, he's telling you to do things and to take things that actually are not beneficial for you. Okay, and I won't go too much further into that for obvious reasons. It says the skill of the physician shall lift up his head, and in the sight of great men he shall be an admiration. The Lord hath created, here's the point I wanted to bring out. The Lord hath created medicines out of the earth. Okay? So the medicines, everything we need for our health, everything we need to stay healthy is actually right in the earth. Okay? In the trees, in the ground, in the plants, in the leaves, etc. And the things that come from the animals as well. Being this lesson is concerning honey, that honey that is produced from a particular type of bee in a particular type of region of the earth. And Esau is trying to destroy the bees. If you do your research, there is a high lack of bees on the planet Earth right now, and we know why. Okay. It says the Lord hath created medicines out of the earth, and he that is wise will not abhor them. Okay? So we have to use wisdom in our daily lives. We have to use wisdom, when we get sick, when we're not feeling well. Okay? And, we've been given the knowledge of these things through the Spirit and power of Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. Lord willing, that was edifying. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Rachaha Kodash. Double honors to the head apostle, that is a great millstone to rule well and teach well. And shalom to the elect. To the next time, shalom.